And starting. All right. What is up? It is Sean here.
And Brian.
Super Farley Bros, Farley Power Podcast,
Podcast.
number 3. So we are still in the same situation. So hopefully everything works out with the internet for this next few podcasts until we can get it back on par. But did just pick up this, testing this mic out for Brian right now because I have my own. And it was easier when we were together. So now this is going to be Brian's. So we're going to have updated audio for the podcast. And so that'll work out pretty well. And also for Brian's Bits with Brian and also Sean's Corner because I'll still be using mine. So, we are. What's that?
Nothing. Just saying. Good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff. Exactly.
Moving on up.
Yeah. Moving on up. Third video. Moving on up. So this week, what are we talking about, Brian?
Talking about Banjo-Kazooie.
Banjo-Kazooie.
Kind of
so good.
Kind of the rival to Mario 64, it seems like, but
yeah, in a way,
very much different.
Yeah, Rare wanted to step up and really compete with Mario because Mario, I mean, one of the first games on the N64, pretty much with the 3D platforming, they nailed it. Totally nailed it. So Rare, of course, did the Donkey Kong Countries on the Super Nintendo, which was a huge. They're really seen back in the day as really just testing the hardware and pushing the Super Nintendo hardware, and so people expected a lot when they came into the N64 era. And I would say Banjo-Kazooie, they did a pretty good job. I don't know. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those games where they kind of came out of nowhere with it, I feel like, because you got new characters, new plot, and new worlds, and really nothing really to build off of except other successful games that have happened in the past.
Right.
But it had to have its own identity, which I think it did.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. I really enjoyed right off the bat. It's funny because Brian and I think our parents got us Banjo-Tooie at some point when we were kids, and we didn't really understand it. I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
I think we enjoyed it. We had fun playing it, and there was old saves on there. I think it was a used copy, and so probably a Blockbuster copy.
I don't know if we ever got very far in the game, though. I feel like we got to maybe like the second world or something, but it was just the point where we were at. We didn't have any like older cousins playing the games, and so we couldn't really like ask them where to go next.
Right.
And we didn't have
the Zelda game.
Yeah, we didn't have really like too much of a grasp of what really was going on, and so I think coming back to, well, when we do go back to Banjo-Tooie, definitely understand it way more than we did before. But start Kazooie, I think, was good because then we can have kind of a background of where this game really started, because when you start out Banjo-Tooie and the witch is dead already and all this stuff is happening, and it's just kind of confusing. Jumping into the second act. But jump into the second act of a game that's I mean, it's not super complex, but I mean, you kind of need to understand the story. You got to play through it in order to really know what's happening.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I remember I fond memories of playing Banjo-Tooie, and I feel like we probably played a little bit. I don't know where, but I remember playing Banjo-Kazooie some point. Maybe it was at a Blockbuster or something in their demo stand for the N64. But this is basically a totally new experience for you and I, playing through this and having not really blitzed through it, played all the way through all the levels, all the worlds. But I think just right off the bat, right when I started it up, the intro tune is just classic, right? Like it's just it just gets you pumped. You're just like classic Rare with their quirky, weird music and just kind of oddball stuff. And then I just love that Gruntilda totally did or is it Gruntilda? Yeah, Gruntilda, the witch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her whole rhymey thing right at the beginning, and they kind of played on almost like a fairy tale a little bit. And yeah, I don't know. I thought that was kind of it was a fun twist that they did. Like you said, they had to totally make up a whole new world. They didn't have like the Mario franchise or the Sonic franchise to build off of.
Yeah, and a couple other things that I feel like about like building this game as, you know, from the ground up and only kind of having rivals really to look at, is that they made it very diverse, and they went a lot of different directions. But it's very, I'm going to say it's very rare that their style. You can definitely tell, not just with the art style and with like the music and stuff, but like just how they tell. I think it really shows. Things that I think about is kind of the beginning kind of banter between Kazooie and Bottles, and they're like arguing with each other at the very beginning, and then just different characters kind of have like their interesting little persona that they play, where it's not just like, you know, in Mario there's Toad that's there every once in a while, and you know, you just expect Toad to be a nice character. But in Banjo, it seems like there's a lot of characters that have very interesting and unique personalities, which I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that the characters definitely make the game, and a lot of there's a reason why people want Banjo and Kazooie in Smash, and it's because they have such a fun personality and such a fun, I guess the nostalgia factors in there for sure with a lot of people, but they're just such a good team, good pair. I mean, better than, what is it, Hunt Dog or whatever, you know, like Duck Hunt, the dog, and yeah, it's I think so anyway. I know that's classic Nintendo, obviously, like the NES with the light gun and everything, but it's I don't know, it's just one of those things. It's a good pair. It'd be good to have them in Smash.
I think so as well. They'd have a lot of potential, but one thing I was thinking about with when I was looking up certain aspects of is they had a lot of levels actually that they didn't include, a lot of kind of cut content because they're running out of time to develop the game,
right?
And have that cut content in the second game. And one kind of Easter egg kind of funny thing that I saw was when you first go to Mumbo Jumbo and he transforms you into the termite.
Yeah.
It's funny because that was the time, but he says he's going to turn you into like a dinosaur or something, but he turns you into a termite or turns you into something else.
Right.
And he's like, oh, I don't have enough magic right now, but for the second game, you'll be turned into a dinosaur. And how the developers even knew, they're like, there's a lot of stuff that we can't do right now that we still need to like develop, and that we're going to include in the next game. And they like broke the fourth wall like 100 times in this game, but that was just one of them where it shows that they already had the second game in the making.
They're like, we got this. We got this.
Yeah.
Well, and the other cool thing about this too, and I don't know if you know this, but I've kind of done a little bit of research with Banjo-Tooie, and Banjo-Tooie was supposed to be on this N64 DD. And do you know what that is, Brian?
No, I don't think so.
So it's kind of funny. So in the last little side note for the podcast, but in the last like year, almost by August, it'll be a year, I've gotten super into retro gaming and collecting, right, Brian? And Brian and I grew up on the N64, so that's kind of why this is our kind of bond with what we started the channel with, and we went on to the GameCube, yada yada, right? So I started looking into some of these old I just really caught this kind of excitement, I guess, for some of these older systems and their history, I guess you could say. And so the N64 DD was supposed to be an expansion slot. They were actually, Nintendo was working with Philips or Sony, one of the two, I think Sony, and they were going to have a CD expansion originally for the N64, kind of like the Sega CD did.
Wow.
And then Nintendo, like last minute, was like, no, never mind. And then Sony was like, all right, screw you. And that's where the PlayStation came from. Kind of transferred into that, and then they kind of kicked, at that point, the PlayStation 1 kicked everybody's trash when that came out, you know. But anyway, so these developers actually had access to these N64 DDs. They're like super rare if you ever find one, or if you can get your hands on one, just like impossible. But they were Banjo-Kazooie 2 was the title that they had for the N64 DD, and then the DD got canceled, so they canceled Banjo-Kazooie 2. and then they put all their ideas into Banjo-Tooie. And so that's why some people, and when we talk about Banjo-Tooie, we'll talk about this more, but that's why there's kind of the frame drops and things like that, because they really pushed the system in Banjo-Tooie, because it was supposed to be for a more powerful
That's interesting.
console. Yeah, so it's funny that they knew that they were gonna make a second game already, and even though the plans changed, they still came out with the game. They're like, all right, screw it, we'll just put it on the N64 and just kind of see how well it runs.
I mean, we talked a lot about the more kind of nostalgia and how kind of, as far as the gameplay, there were some parts of the game I was a fan of that, as we mentioned, like kind of related to Mario, right? Banjo-Kazooie, kind of a rival to Mario, or kind of the same feel, just, you know, made by Rare.
Right.
And throughout the time I was playing it, I was like, like, I'm not always the biggest fan. Thing for me, there's a few things. I guess I'm good at nitpicking. As far as the gameplay goes, the camera angle thing took a little bit getting used to, was a little bit annoying, I feel like. And the swimming in the game.
Dude,
those were two things that...
Don't even get me started on the swimming.
Yeah, and so I feel like there were quite a few times where the camera angle really screwed me up when I was... Because, I mean, in this game, there's a lot of kind of precarious jumps you need to make, and you need to time your jumps right every once in a while, and you need to, especially in the further levels, really make sure that every step you take and every move you make that you make it to where it's precise. And the camera angle oftentimes screwed me up to where I'd be thinking I'm going to jump a certain way, but the camera would like autocorrect every once in a while when you didn't want it to, and so you push in the analog stick one way and the camera angle moves, and so then in turn your direction is the wrong way. It's fall off a cliff or something.
Yeah.
That was one side of the gameplay that I was like, ugh. And then the swimming, I drowned a few different times in the further levels when either the ship, what's the place called, with the dirty water?
Oh, is that Clinker's Cavern?
No. The big ship.
Oh, Rust Bucket Bay. Was it the first water level or the second water level? At the end of the game or the beginning of the game?
No.
Rust Bucket Bay, I think,
the end of the game. Yeah, Rust Bucket Bay. So the water in that one, it made you drown quicker, right?
Yeah,
you lost your water quicker. And
that was
in the winter side,
I hated that level. I hated that level.
And then the winter side of Click Clock Forest, that one, the water, there was a little spot you could get in the water, and it wasn't necessary, but I did it anyway. And you lose your air super quickly. And I got through that whole entire level without dying. And that was the very end, right?
Yeah.
And I just needed a couple more things. And I went underneath the water to check on, you can get a little honeycomb piece to increase your life.
Right.
In the winter place. Yeah. And so I got it. And then I started going back, and I would have made it back up, except as soon as I surfaced, for some reason, Kazooie wanted to go back underwater and start swimming again. And so I surfaced with one little honey of air. It's like, goes back underneath the water, and then I die. And I'm just like, almost all of the little like color dudes, the little jingos or whatever they're freaking called.
Yeah.
I had almost every single one of the note pieces. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, and so swimming often. But
yeah, I would say the agitating parts for me would probably be the swimming for sure. Also the camera angles a little bit, but I don't know. I feel like that's what you get with N64, is you're gonna get camera angle issues. Even in Mario, now I'm like blanking on games now, but like there's even in like PlayStation 2 games, there was camera issues like that, you know? And so I feel like it's something I kind of expected. So like I was annoyed, but I was like, well, this is what I signed up for. Kind of, you know, almost like it's like this is what I get with these old games. But definitely the swimming was something that was super frustrating to me. And yeah, I think it could have done without those levels, but it made the game really cool. It added to the atmosphere, right?
And but of the frustration with the swimming and the different kind of mechanics, could have been alleviated if the interaction hitbox or whatever with different items was bigger. Because I don't know if you noticed, but in order to get a note, or in order to get like a certain item, like a feather and egg, you had to like get center of Banjo and Kazooie on it in order for it to register that touch that item, right?
Right.
If you're a little bit too far off, even if like Kazooie's, like if Kazooie's wing goes through it swimming, but Banjo doesn't touch it, then you don't grab it.
Right.
And it's like, what? Like, I swear I touched it, but the game didn't register. Or I was just barely too far away for the game to register that I touched it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that was a big annoyance as well for me. And it would have alleviated the swimming and everything, because
sure, because you have to turn around.
Yeah, and or the flying too sometimes was a little bit annoying, but but that's the thing with this game, because it's a new, like, right when 3D gaming first came out, and so they were still experimenting with a whole bunch of stuff. And I mean, like, I'm actually really curious to see if some of these things that are annoying about the gameplay were fixed in Banjo-Tooie. You know?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I have fond memories of playing that game, just as far as like running around and screwing around, like obviously not getting anywhere. But yeah, that's kind of how these old games go. I mean, they played differently. Our expectations were at a different level back then. You know, you go play something like Red Dead Redemption 2 compared to that. That's like, if people saw that back in the 64 days, they'd probably just like die. You know, like the Squidward future thing. You know, they'd be freaking out. So I mean, it's something that I've kind of done as I've been collecting a little bit more. Is like I've learned to appreciate each system for what it is, and that's why I like what we're doing now with these N64 games. Is one, it's nostalgic. There's some nostalgic factor for us, right? Like this is our first console system, and not only that, but it's cool to go back and just kind of put yourself in that time frame. Like, so when I play NES games, I'm like, this is how, like, put myself in this time frame where this was the peak of technology and enjoy the game for what it is, right? And when you do that, you really just see there is a story in a lot of these games, or if there's not a story, the fun aspect is maybe the gameplay, or it's usually the gameplay or story, or the music even.
Or the nostalgia about it. Yeah. I mean, that is definitely something to consider when playing older games, because you got to realize that it had limitations, but at the same time, there's the aspect of replayability. If we talked about Legend of Zelda, I feel like the replayability, even though it's an old game.
Brian, say that one more time. Sorry, you cut out. If we talk about what?
Oh, so talk about the replayability of the games.
Sure.
So they're older games, but to replay them in the future, like how enticing are they to replay in the future and to finish in the future, to where Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time totally would replay that game for the fun of it, just because it has a good replay value and the mechanics worked really well.
Yeah.
Whereas with Banjo-Kazooie, I feel like I'd be more I'd be looking forward to a remake more than I would to replay the old game.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. I
just because.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Just because, like, there's just certain aspects of the game, like we already mentioned, that I feel like are just a little bit too annoying for me. Like, to play it once, you know, in a long time, like, it's great, but like, it's not a game that I'd go back, you know, every couple years to play. It's just a game that I play just one time in 10 years, you know, sort of thing.
Whereas like Majora's Mask, I could play that every 6 months probably if I wanted to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I and you know what? I agree, and I think there's a lot of people out there that love this game, and they can play it that way because that nostalgia factor is so stacked up, right? Like it brings back such good memories of going back and playing this game, and the music's great, the characters are great, like we said, like the story is really fun and it's entertaining, and so I think that there is replay value. It's definitely there. It's not like, oh, I would never play this game again, right? Like, but it's I think what you're saying as well is it's not at the top of that list, right? It's not going to be, oh, this is my top N64 game that I love to go back and replay. Whereas like, I think some of the shorter games, even like Star Fox, is something that has a lot of replayability because just the way the game's designed, right? And that goes to its benefit because it's designed to play over and over again because it's actually a short game technically. So whereas this game, it's not a long game, I wouldn't say, but you're going to put some time into it. It's not like it's going to be you're going to play it one night and finish it or in a couple days. It's going to take a little bit of time if you are a normal person with work and school and, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also think that the mechanics is something that definitely would be, if they did remake the game, it could be really charming and really fun, and they could fix the camera angles, the swimming, maybe the flying a little bit, and the combat. I don't know. What did you think about the last boss fight? The shooting stuff annoys me. I'm sorry. It's frustrating.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It was funny because there was the game show thing, and I was like, you like it, right? And that was actually like very entertaining to me.
Yeah.
Like that really brought forth the personality. And then like the credits roll like as if it's the end of the game, and like you're like, oh, cool. Oh, okay, yeah, you do have to fight, at the very end. I enjoyed the last battle because it was challenging enough, and it wasn't like a lot of the other boss battles. It's like you hit them like 5 times and they're dead,
right?
It's her kind of boss battle. But she took a lot more hits
forever, dude.
And I thought what are those little jingos? What are they called?
Yeah, the jingos. And then like the Jinganator.
The whole thing with the jingos was the giant guy.
Yeah. I think that's his name, the Jinganator.
That was his name, the Jinganator?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh my
god. I made that up. That's awesome, bro.
But that was just kind of weird. I don't know. It was like, I was like, like out of everything that finishes her off, it's like the little dudes you've been saving the whole entire game.
But that makes it fun. I thought that was, you're kind of like, wow, so there was actually a purpose. Yeah, there's a purpose to saving all these little turds that are just like, help me.
Yeah.
Hey, help. And dude, oh man, whenever you'd be right next to one and it just wouldn't shut up, and you're like, dude, I'm trying to get to you, bro. Like, can you not see me? Oh,
and they're like this. What is it? They do. Help.
Yeah. help me. And you're like, dude, you see me falling from this platform 1,000 times trying to get up to you. Like, obviously, I'm trying to get up there. If you keep saying that, maybe I'll just ditch you and I won't do this level.
Yeah. I don't need that jiggy.
Yeah, exactly. But as far as the overall, like, what would you say on like a 1 to 10? Would you give like the hardness scale for this game?
Wait, say that again. Give what?
Like a hardness scale from like easy to hard. What would you give it on a scale from 1 to 10? 10 being hardest.
Well, I would included. I would give it like, I don't know, 7.5 difficulty.
Yeah.
Like, there's some parts. It's not necessarily like the battling of it. It's more of just like the maneuvering through the world gets a little bit difficult. And like having to collect so many things like could be difficult, but it's not like to the point. And it can get frustrating when you die. Yeah, and so, but it's not to the point to where it's like impossible. Yeah. It's like I think it's a good challenge. It's a good challenge.
I say that too. It's not like Hollow Knight where it's like you want to kill yourself sometimes. It gets so hard at some points. You're like, this boss. There's some bosses when I played, I was like, this is literally impossible. Can't beat this person. But no, so I never felt that way. I guess maybe that's kind of a weird question, but I think you answered it well. I think there's some of the platforming because it's like an N64 game, right? Some of the jumps and the maneuvering is difficult. It's pretty difficult. It can be in certain areas, and the frustrations can get pretty high. But it never got to the point where I was like, this game's unfair. Like, screw this game, Yeah. Like, it never got to that point. It just got to points where I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot because I would blitz too fast. I'd try to sprint through an area, and then I wasn't being very smart, and so I got myself killed. So I never felt like it was unfair. I felt like it was my fault a lot of the time when I did mess up, and not every time. There were some times where the game was out to get me, I'm pretty sure, but but I think overall difficulty, yeah, I put it around like a 6 or 7 as far as um, the camera angles and stuff make it to that level. Otherwise, it wouldn't be. Like the camera angles jump it to that higher level.
Exactly.
What about like memorabilia? Like memorabilia? Like maybe that's not the right word I'm looking for. How memorable the game is specifically? Like how like are there any of the stages, the characters? Like what is
I think
memorable?
kind of what I mentioned before, the personality of the game,
Yeah,
to where they break the fourth wall a lot, and they like it's still kind of childish. Like you think of like all the jokes and how the she's always like talking to you and like giving you like some like rhyme. She speaks
yeah,
in rhymes and stuff, and like the game show thing at the end, like it's still like childish, but it's like funny still. It's like it has a funny
yeah,
like personality to it. And for me, I think that's with me the most, and really makes me forget about the dumb gameplay kind of sort of stuff where it's like the swimming mechanic or the the camera angle mechanic. It makes me forget some of those things because it really makes it unique and interesting. Gives it its own personality to where it's not a Mario game.
yeah,
It's not it. It's a 3D platform game where it's a collectathon kind of 3D
yeah,
platformer, but like it's not. It's totally a thing, and has its own personality. So I think that's really what makes me what is most memorable to me about the game.
yeah. I think a lot of the same thing too. I agree. I also think some of the levels that were just I don't know, almost like Mario, kind of like when you think about Mario 64. Like I think about the underwater level. Now I'm getting like Banjo-Kazooie things in my. I almost said Rusty Bucket Bay, but the or like Bomb on Battlefield or Boo's Mansion. Like there's certain areas of the game that you just like you're like, oh yeah, like maybe you didn't even really like that as much, like the specific world, but it just has those memories to it. And I felt like there was some of those here, like I actually like Treasure Trove Cove. I thought that one was kind of fun, like running around on the beach
Yeah,
with the
I like that.
crabs and stuff. The freeze. I hated Freezy Way or Freezy Way or whatever it is park.
Yeah,
Um, and but then I ended up liking it later, and so I don't know. I think some of the worlds had a lot of charm to them. I thought I was gonna hate the sand level. The was it Gobi
Gobi's
something?
Desert,
Gobi's Valley, right?
Gobi's Valley.
Yeah, and because I thought about the sand level in Mario, I freaking hate that level,
Mm,
right? Because every time you make any kind of error, wah, and then ha ha ha,
yeah,
like oh my
Dr.
gosh, driving me nuts. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I didn't feel that way as much when I kind of understood the level, and I was like, oh, this actually isn't that bad at all. So, um, I felt like there were some memorable places in this game.
Well, I honestly think that I my favorite level actually was the last one, the Click Clock
Yeah,
Forest,
because
because at
you can
first when
switch
I
it
got to
up.
the level, you get to different areas. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's 4 different areas like to this like thing,
Yeah,
and I get to the first area, and I don't even think I really realized it was like the spring area and the summer area or anything like that. I just thought it was like 4 different areas, and there's all this stuff going on, and you have to wake up the eagle baby bird, and then
yeah, right.
you have to plant the flower, and there's like some stuff that you're like doing, but then I was like, well, like what's going on? Do it like why it's acting like as if like I'm gonna come back here later on, and then I found the summer thing and I opened that. I'm like, wait a second, this place has like seasons, and I was like, really? And so then I went to the summer place and I'm like, this is awesome. Like it's the exact same level except like time is went
Yeah,
forward, and you get to like continue to work on like this quest, right?
right.
Different individual like quests, if it be with the chipmunk guy or with the beaver or whatever. And so I just thought it was really like kind of cool how the seasons kind of played a whole role with it, and depending on which the future one. And I honestly thought that was like a really good level to be the world,
To be the what? What'd you say?
to be the last world
Oh,
in this
last
game.
world.
Like it
Yeah,
was a good finale.
yeah, no, yeah, I agree. I think so too. I think it fit together really well. The sandbox aspect was kind of interesting. I felt like they obviously took inspiration from Mario, but instead of jumping into a painting, you like fill the painting with the puzzle pieces, and then you have to go find the entrance to the world. So I felt like they did a good job with that, but again, like is a little bit of a rip off, right? Because part of me was just like, just jump through the painting, like it's right there. So I don't know. I mean, again, that would be even more rippy offish but yeah, I don't know. I think that overall the game's charm, the characters, the colors, the music. We haven't talked about the music. I love the music. I don't know about you, but I love Rare music, and I think just the jingles and stuff are really fun. Just it's again quirky or weird, right? Total.
Yeah, honestly, it's hard. Like right now, I'm trying to think of the different music, and all I can think of is the beginning when you first turn on the game,
right?
But like, or just whenever you get that same little tune plays. I think you're a lot more sensitive to the music of different games than I am.
Maybe.
I guess I like it just because it plays so much that I kind of just, if I were to hear it again, I'd be like, oh yeah, that would like to the point to where I can just think of the world and know what song plays in that world.
Right.
It's more of like it would bring back the memory of that specific world if I heard it again.
I agree in that aspect too, because I'm that way a little bit. I just meant like overall, kind of how the music tones are played. It's kind of that weird like bam, 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 kind of almost like almost what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like that German.
Yeah.
Was it Weird Al? Weird Al does that stuff all the time. Almost called it toga. Polka. Yeah, polka. Thank you. Yeah, kind of that polka, like the bump, 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 bump. That's kind of how the music was through the whole game. And so I just thought it was kind of funny because they aren't taking themselves too serious, right? When they made the game, they made it a little bit childish, a little bit of some like adult humor in there, a little bit. So I felt like that tied it in really well. And then the music, I guess just when you hear that music, it's Rare. It's classic Rare music. Like it's the same kind of music, a little bit different in Donkey Kong, a little bit different in Conkers, but you know what you're getting. So, that was a big part of it for me, where I just felt the whole time I was playing, I was like, this is just entertaining. You just feel good. You're just like, this is happy. Yeah. Even though I want to throw my controller at the screen right now because I keep dying. The stupid swamp level. Dude, I died in the swamp level more than like any other level. That sounds so dumb. But I don't know why.
I died in Bay the most.
Oh, yep. Okay, never mind. That doesn't count. That place is the worst. Drowned like every 3 seconds. Drowned. Gosh.
Did you?
I could that level.
I only got 7 of the jiggies in that level.
Yeah,
but
I could do without that. I think I just got the bare minimum, so I had enough notes.
Did you get to the point to where you were inside the boat and there was all the rudders like spinning around? You had to jump between. And then if you fell, you died.
Yeah. It's the worst. I don't even know if I got that jiggy to go that way. I don't know. Can't remember.
I don't blame you if you didn't.
I don't think I did. I think I did a couple times, and I was like, I think I have enough. I'm not. Why am I doing this? Just torturing myself. Because most of the other places I went pretty ham on getting the jiggies and the notes and the jingos. So yeah, I don't know. I think this is a good game. It's a good game.
What would you rate it as far as like should you play it? Do you need to play it? Is it?
I would say that you should
overall. The overall.
I would say that it's a game that you should play. Okay, well, let me reiterate. If you're just a fan of Nintendo in general and you've never played a Rare game before, I think you should try this game if you can. It's not too expensive. It's pretty easy to pick up for the most part. You can find it at most places locally or online, eBay, Macari, whatever. If you're a Rare fan, I think you should beat it. Like if you played Conquerors or if you played Donkey Kong 64, you're gonna see enough of the same aspects where you're gonna have that nostalgia come back and you're gonna want to play this game. I think if you're not a Nintendo fan or not a Rare fan or whatever, I mean, you can try it, but I don't know. I don't know if I would recommend it to someone that hasn't played those kind of games before.
Somebody who's not used to it or not familiar with it. I don't
Not
know
especially if they haven't played the N64. I don't know if I'd recommend it.
For what?
If they hadn't played the N64 before.
Oh,
like if they never played Mario 64, well, which would be sad, but if they never played a lot of these early 3D games, because honestly, there's a reason why old retro gaming, like people think it peaked in the 16-bit era with the Sega Genesis and with the Super Nintendo, because it was still these 2D graphics and they were able to kind of maximize the gameplay in these games. And then when we went to the 3D aspect, a lot of people struggled in the 3D aspect when developing games, and that's why some 3D games just straight up suck, because they couldn't figure it out. And some games did. Ocarina of Time and Ocarina of Time and Super Mario 64. I even think Banjo did a good job, but each of those games has its problems, right? Z-Lock with Zelda is sometimes noticeable. It can be an issue. Camera angles in almost every game. So that's why I say that with the N64. If people haven't played the N64, they might play it and be like, why do people like this? This sucks.
Yeah, I agree. If they wouldn't be familiar with it, they wouldn't enjoy it as much, I feel like. So it's definitely a game that you need to be going into it understanding kind of what you're getting into, or else you're going to kind of throw it off guard and really not. I don't think you'd enjoy it, because this is like so odd, and like maybe like some of the jokes in the very beginning, but like other than that, they're like, it's just like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this, but definitely, like you said, Rare fans or Nintendo fans, I think this should play.
Yeah.
In that case.
Yeah. So, no, I agree.
Overall,
what is your?
I think I'd give it.
I was going to say, what is your final score? Your final score.
My final score for Banjo-Kazooie, I would give it a 7.1.
Dang, I thought you were going to say the same thing I was going to say. I would give it a 7.45.
No, why not a 7.5?
No, I don't know. You can round up. I'll give it a 7.5. Again, because I love the music, I love the characters, I thought the story was really fun, but there were certain aspects that, again, it's just kind of a hindrance that unfortunately happens with N64. That kind of hurts the game in some areas. Maybe makes it a little unfair in some levels, but I mean, 7.5 is pretty good. It's pretty good. I know it's a C, but like that's in a different spectrum. It's not. There's even a 5 or 6 can be an okay game, I'd say. So 7.5, I feel like it's a pretty good game, and I hope to give Banjo-Tooie an 8. I hope to, because I do like it. I just there's things that it can be improved. So we'll see when we get to Banjo-Tooie, which I don't know if that's going to be next, but when we get to it, it's definitely something that that'll be interesting to see what we think.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's all for me. I guess the next week we will potentially touch on another game, depending on how much time that game will take. If it's like a Star Fox game, shorter game, or if we're gonna do like a Majora's Mask, which is gonna take a little bit longer. Or we'll touch on some gaming news. And like I said before, we're gonna get this mic to Brian so that he has his own little setup. And we're slowly, when we split up, when we were together, we're getting pretty close. We're building our stuff. We're doing pretty good with our lighting and everything. And now we've like taken 2 steps back because we split up, and now we're trying to get that all figured out again. But I think over the summer, once May hits, when I'm in a new place and you'll be in a new place, and so hopefully we'll have a little more of a sturdy setup and moving forward. So I think we'll have about 3 more podcasts until then. So we're gonna try to get this working smoothly and start promoting it a little bit better, so you guys know when we're on, and we're confident that the stream will work. So,
for real.
Yeah. So I don't know, anything else, Brian? Any last words for Banjo?
Well, rest in peace, Rust Bucket Bay.
Rest in pieces. You can go to hell.
Yeah.
I got triggered when I was playing that level. So most other people do. So people that have played, what we're talking about. But
that's that.
Yeah. Well, I think that wraps it up for number 3 of the Farley Power Podcast on Super Farley Bros. So make sure you comment. Let us know what you think about the game down below, and let us know what you like about the video, how we can improve it. And any last words, Brian, before we end it?
Nope.
All right, and we will see you guys